Good evening and salutations, my J's fans. I've been saying this for weeks, close to about, let's say, a couple of months, right? How I felt about the whole Brooklyn situation. You know, we can sit there and give all the excuses in the world to why Brooklyn did what she did, right? We can argue on whether they were valid or not, or whatever. My main issue that I had with her, I sound like a broken record, is that she didn't give him a choice. She just decided to make the decision unilaterally, right? Now, she will explain the reasons why she did it, but it doesn't matter. You still did it. And he's going to feel, and I say he's going to feel some type of way about it. Now, although his reaction was very flat and disappointing to sit there and say the least, that's what he tells her. He's like, yo, listen, I don't hate you. I just hate the fact that you took the choice away from me. That's what it comes down to. And there's no amount of, oh, I'm sorry, or da 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 da. And, you were a kid yourself, you wouldn't have been ready or anything like that. You don't know what would have wound up happening. You don't know if you would have been ready or not. You can sit there and say that until you're blue in the goddamn face, but unless you gain psychic powers, there's no way for you to fully know. You can guess, you could um you can take your so-called educated um assumption, but it doesn't matter. You don't know. That's the bottom line. And that's what it comes down to. So while they're sitting there talking, you get Tracy eventually involved. Well, Tracy was actually there, and she did want up leaving a little bit after Chase comes in. He ain't too happy with Chase, but I guess maybe on some level he can understand that, listen, like he said, it wasn't his story to tell. And plus, Brooklyn was like, I told him not to say anything. Now, for that, you had Gio that was pissed off. He was ready to leave. And, he was mad at both of them. But then Brooklyn was like, listen, you can't get upset with Dante because he didn't know. And so Gio's like, okay, fine. What's your excuse? She tells him the reasons why she did what she did. Young, scared, wasn't ready to be a mother, da 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 da. Right? But see, even with the best excuse, even with the best reasonings, from an emotional standpoint, he's always going to sit there and think, you didn't want me. You rejected me. You threw me away. And he's going to be hurt, and he is still processing that. So eventually he winds up leaving, and Tracy's like, let him go. Like, Tracy, you didn't sit there and say let him go when you had your piece. But okay, whatever. So that happens. At some point, Ned does finally get back, and Brooklyn's like, I gotta have a conversation with him. Now, speaking of just bad days, Ned is pissed. He's hurt. He's angry. She gives her reasons why, and they don't really change much of anything. She had her reasons why she did it, and Ned is ultimately just hurt that you didn't even include him. You didn't include him in. You know, he wanted to be there to help his daughter, and he feels like shit because he felt like he let her down on something that he didn't even know about. He still feels guilty about that. And then when Olivia comes in, oh, she got some words to sit there and say to her. She feels hurt and she feels betrayed. The best friends just shared everything. Then there's points where she starts saying things that's just completely out of whack, right? Completely and utterly out of whack. Like, you only you didn't sit there and tell me because you wanted to sit there and be selfish. You wanted to keep that grandchild for yourself. I'm like, what? Listen, I get that you're angry with her, and I get that, but that was one of those things I was like, that doesn't remotely make any sense, right? And so Lois comes back and it's like, you're not going to talk down to me after what you did with Dante and Sonny. And I'm like, I get the idea of what you're trying to say, but the two scenarios are not the same. She was protecting Dante from Sonny's world and the enemies that would have got at him. Hell, you can look at Michael as an example. So the two of that, you know what I'm saying? Like the two situations are not the same. It was like, nah, boo boo. I get the idea that they both lied and you don't have really a lot of room, but at the same time, while that may be somewhat true, you can't use that as an excuse. So pretty much she's done with Lois. And of course, Brooklyn's done with Lois, and of course Sonny comes in. And Sonny is a little bit more understandable. He's not coming at her hard. He's just like, why didn't you tell me? I could have helped. Lois in this, I don't understand how she actually put those words together, but it was just like, when she asked Sonny to pay for Gio's education, it was kind of like, well, that's her way of keeping them close, keeping him close to his grandchild by, you know, paying for his education. And I'm kind of just like, wait, really? Because like that that's I don't understand how he's supposed to sit there and smile about that, but he doesn't go too hard on her, and he does say thank you, and he appreciates what she did, and I okay, whatever. I mean, also, she allowed him to probably attend these things and spend time together, so I guess in a sense, she kept him close to his grandchild. Kind of a weird backwards way of going about it, but he appreciates it. And then you have the Maxi and Nina scene. Now Nina is like, listen, I can stop this whole thing by telling Willow the truth, and this way Michael could be a little more reasonable now that Drew's not in the picture. But if I do that, then she's going to wind up losing her daughter. And she's like, I don't know if I'm brave enough to actually tell the truth. I'm like, spoiler alert, you're not. Okay? There's no, am I brave enough? Because you're not. You're just simply not. But then they start getting to Sasha, right? You start getting to Sasha because Rick subpoenaed her. And Nina's like, the case is not really that great now because Michael's back, and Willow and Sasha have bad blood, so it's going to be a lot worse. Anyway, they get into this conversation about her being pregnant and the story that she told, and then, Jason stepping up and her allowing Jason, her letting the world know that Jason's the father. Like, why would she make that up? Anyway, they get into this conversation. Long story short, there's something that triggers Nina to be like, well, Jason wouldn't just sit there and protect anyone, you know? He wouldn't sit there, he wouldn't, like, be loyal to Sasha. And then that's when Nina's like, oh, wait, hold on. Jason would sit there and do anything for Michael. So when Maxie leaves, she goes to the bartender and starts asking questions. And long story short, the bartender's like, yo, listen, Sasha wasn't with Jason. Showed her a picture, but then showed her a picture of Michael. And that's when he's like, yeah, he was with her. And so by that string theory, she realized that most likely Michael is Sasha, um, baby daddy or whatever. And so now this puts this whole relationship into this weird bind because it's like she's gonna go to Michael and be like, yo, listen, go ahead with that court case. I'm gonna make sure that the world knows that you are the father. But then by doing that, you're going to mess up the relationship that she has with Sasha. And when the truth comes out, essentially she's going to lose both daughters because Sasha is like a daughter to Nina, and she's going to wind up losing that as well. Um, Meanwhile, Willow and Drew want to file a kidnapping report because Jason took Amelia out the house. Um, and Mac is like, hey, listen, she's with her father. What are you actually bringing me? But he does go down there because Drew's like, no, Jason came in my house. I didn't invite him there. I didn't want him there. I didn't tell him you can be there. And he just broke in anyway, in a sense, essentially, without my permission. But, see, Michael's a strategist, right? Just like he knew that was the best time to sit there and get Wiley and Amelia away from Drew and Willow by surprise because of the gala and everyone being distracted. Kind of like his little covert operation. He's a strategist. He also probably figured out that when Matt came back and Drew's Willow was like, where are the kids at? Kind of missing two small human beings. That's when he tells them that they got an emergency court order, and so Michael's going to have the kids into the court case and to the trial starts. So they decide to go to Michael's place, and at first Drew wants to go with Willow, and I'm kind of just like, bro, you're not reading the room. And Willow's like, those people don't want you there. You're just going to make the situation a lot worse. So she goes and she talks to Michael, and she's like, oh, please don't take my kids. We could sit there and work this out and everything like that. I was like, what's your definition of working things out? Because again, that shitty ass schedule that you was going to sit there and give the father of your the father of your children. How is that working it out? How is that amicable? You only sit there doing this now because now he has the kids. When you had the kids, it was very comfortable and very reassuring for you to sit there and start doting out time, depending on yours and Drew's input, which is just apt up in itself. But this is where you are. So now Michael's sitting there looking at Willow differently, you know, because he's realized that this woman will sit there and try to play on his emotions, play on his good nature. And for the sake of his kids, no, he can't be that person with her. And that's why he looked at her a lot different. When I sat there and said that he walked in that place, picked up his child and looked at them with the death glare, he realized that he had to sit there and come at them with an entirely different approach. And, like I said before, this is the Michael that we deserve. The stuff with Gio and Emma didn't really go anywhere. He's just, at this point, he doesn't know what to do, So he's just kind of just talking out his feelings and processing this whole thing, you know. Um, I just personally can't wait until um, everyone finds out that Lulu was the one that blew up this whole secret and everything like that because with her, it's like she really feels like the ends justifies the means, right? So she's just on another planet, and she's just so self assured about what she did, and the fact that she thinks that she is really in the right for doing it. That it's like, you know, um, so everyone's gonna sit there and like you thought that Lois was having a bad day. Oh, and I think there's a point where they're talking, Dante and everyone are talking, and Brooklyn has that look in her face like, I know who did it. I know who did it. Is that big mouth, nosy ass, conniving, vindictive Lulu. There's a couple of four-letter words I could sit there and use in here, but you get the idea. I feel like that's it for the most part. I mean, most of the other stuff was okay, but I think that's the general gist of it. Now, if I missed anything, we're gonna obviously talk about it tonight in the live stream. Leave the stuff in the comment section of what I missed, and I'll sit there and read it, and we'll talk about that tonight. But anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna go, and I'll see you in the next video.